right, one quick note on how I sourced my sand and peat moss. So, when I was down in New Jersey, I believe the town I was in was Hammonton. I think it was Hammonton, New Jersey. Blueberry capital of the world. That's what the sign said in the diner that I went to. And indeed, there were a lot of blueberries planted. Acres and acres, rows and rows. One of the first things I noticed is that the soil was very sandy in that area. And like a lot of fruit-bearing plants, they tend to like sandy soil. And why is that? Because sandy soil is well-draining soil, so that the roots don't stay wet, they don't get diseased or bacteria or root rot, whatever happens when the roots get wet. Well-draining soil is generally always good for plants. I'm sure there's some exceptions, but whatever. So, sandy soil. How did I source my sand? I did a little research online, and it was pointed out that you need a coarser sand. So if you go to Home Depot and get sand that you're going to fill a little sandbox with, that's going to be really fine sand, kind of dusty. That is going to congeal and not allow a lot of good drainage. So you need coarser sand. How do you find coarser sand? Well, the coarser sand that's good for this solution is called, it's a kind of sand that they use in cement mixes. So cement sand, that's what I've heard it called. So went into Google Maps, looked for topsoil gravel providers. If you search directly for like sand suppliers near me, probably not going to find too much. But if you search for gravel or landscapers or landscaping supply, topsoil, etc., you'll probably find a place that sells sand. So I did that. I called around a little bit. The first place didn't have concrete sand. The second place explicitly had concrete sand and masonry sand. I didn't want masonry sand, so called him up and said, hey, how much is your sand? He's like, yo, it's $40 per cubic yard. And I'm thinking, okay, I only have a trailer. I'm driving an SUV. A cubic yard would probably break my trailer. A cubic yard of sand is probably going to weigh over a ton, and I don't want to test that. So I'm like, hey, can you do a half yard? He's like, sure, I'll give it to you for 20 bucks. Yippee, 20 bucks. And at that point, I really don't care how much I don't care to go price shopping beyond that, because 20 bucks for some sand is exactly what I need. Now, I could have went to Home Depot, Lowe's, etc. Found probably 50 bags of sand to get the equivalent amount. But that would have cost much more money than $20. So, going to get my sand first. All right, second, peat moss. How did I source my peat moss? So, everything I've seen is there's not really bulk suppliers of peat moss. At least I haven't found any, and if there is some, it probably exists on a really, really large scale, and that's not what I need here. That's probably not what you need either. So peat moss for most solutions is going to come in these little compressed plastic cubes that are about 2 to 3 cubic feet. The most common size I saw was 3.3 cubic feet, but then I did some price shopping. I went to Walmart, I went to Home Depot, their websites. I didn't go to each store, mind you. I live in the 21st century, good grief. And I saw that Walmart had it the cheapest per unit, essentially. So I'm heading off to Walmart right now. I scheduled a pickup for 10 cubes of peat moss, Canadian peat moss. I've heard that you want to get the Canadian peat moss because that has a lower pH, which blueberries love your acidic soil, but I'm getting into too much detail here. So, sand. Call your local gravel supplier. Peat moss. Just look at a garden supply place, Walmart, Home Depot, whatever. You know, try to support local if you can, but I went Walmart in this case because it's cheap and I don't need too much. So, peat moss and sand. Go get some.